Welcome. I'm Alice Alicia Jones, and today is another one of my live videos on living consciously. My goal is to help everybody who finds a way to these videos, whether it's through Facebook Live or whether it's through YouTube, to find a way to raise your vibrations, because that is the entire goal of ascension. That is what ascension means. It is the process of you increasing your frequency. Very easy to understand if you think about a fan. A fan, in resting, you can see the blades. A fan, when the blades are moving slowly, you can see the blades. Even when they're moving midway, can you see the blades? Probably. But if at high speed, you can't see the blades, just like you probably couldn't see my finger as I was going around. And that is precisely what you're doing. And to get to a place of ascension. It's a big word that's being thrown around a lot right now in the spiritual communities, no matter where you are. And effectively, there's so many things that can drag you down. And one of my goals, obviously, is to always give you methods to keep yourself up, to bolster yourself, to constantly feel as if you can overcome a challenge that is working on you. And interestingly enough, the title of today's talk, um, no matter what I think I'm going to bring forward at the end of a session for the next week, my guides always have something better. And the title of today's talk is En Theos, which simply translates in God, or it is also En Theos is the root for enthusiasm. And for you to raise your vibrations, you really have to think about, what are you enthusiastic about? And this is interesting to me because effectively, if you think about the fact that COVID, this whole period, has given us the ability to think about our jobs. Are we as enthusiastic about our jobs as we thought we were? Because a good portion of us have been put back and asked to work from home, have been, we've kept our jobs, but under no circumstance are you asked to go to an office. You're asked to stay and work from home. And the beautiful thing that is happening is that not only are you asked to work from home, but the additional hours that you're granted, that you're being given with not being able to, not having to commute, are hours that you can now spend on things you wanted to do. Or let's say you finally realized, yes, I could retire 10 years from now. I could retire 5 years from now. I could retire next year. But I'm going to retire. And I'm going to do it now. And then be faced with, okay, now what? Now what do I do? So effectively, one of the things that Archangel Ariel always reminds us to think about is that when faced with a decision about the direction of our life, we have to ask ourselves 3 questions. And those 3 questions are, first of all, is it fun? And if it's not fun, don't do it. Just like if it doesn't bring joy to you, don't keep it. And that's one of the basic principles of decluttering your life. If it doesn't bring you joy, don't keep it. And especially if it's something that literally pulls you down. You spent too much money, it was given to you by a person that the relationship turned sour, whatever it was, don't keep it. So that's the first thing. Does it bring you joy? And some people can stand back and say, well, I I don't know. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. But think about, first of all, think about what makes you lose track of time when you're engaged in it, so that you have no idea how much time has passed, and that your enthusiasm for what you're doing stays on a high track, on a high level. If you can think about that, then also you can think about the possibility of making money off of that exercise, whatever it is. Then the second thing Archangel Ariel will say is, besides, is it fun? Does it make my heart sing? And that kind of is in keeping with, does time stand still for me? But it goes obviously beyond that. Does it make my heart sing? There are things we do over and over and over and over that are such a drudge, but yet we find a way to utilize that time. Let's say you are doing something, a task that's very repetitive, and it doesn't really bring you a tremendous amount of joy. But think about the possibility that while doing that very repetitive task, you could go into a meditative state because you don't have to think. There's no thought that has to go into the task. So, effectively, then instead of looking at it as a drudge, you can say, all right, I'm going to get my vibrational level into a different state. You might go into delta, which I'm not sure is deep sleep, but it may be uh, one of the states that you can get into without having to spend a lot of effort in it. So, does it make my heart sing? And I have had some people that say, well, I don't know what makes my heart sing, but effectively, there's something. And if a young person would say, oh, yeah, playing video games makes my heart sing, that can actually lead to a career. You could end up designing video games. There is one of the people who introduced Turner Classic Movies made a comment that as a teenager, he loved movies. He absolutely loved them. So, how do you make that into a career? He became an introducer of movies on Turner Classic Movies, because Turner Classic Movies has that little gap where they either talk about the movie prior to its presentation and then talk about it afterwards. And the beauty is, this young man found a way of bringing an enthusiastic response to every movie that he was presenting. And you could tell it was genuine. This wasn't a script. This wasn't something he was reading. It was genuine. It came from his heart. So, and I know there was a task that I had to do every single year. I still do. And I dreaded it to the point where one year I realized that, oh my God, this task that was related to just nothing more complicated than filing bills from the property management that we had and putting them in order and putting them away in their proper files for property management. Um, it was, for whatever reason, I despised doing it. I despised the time I took. And in my mind, I had built it up that, oh my God, I spent a whole afternoon doing it. So I then started to think about the fact I've got to get over this. And I started to think about, okay, now, how can I make this easier for myself? And I realized that every single one of our property management had a number. So I took an index card, cut it up into three, and it was the perfect size to lay out the numbers of every single property. And I had a row on top of the couch, a row facing the back of the couch, and a row lining the front of the couch. And then one year I decided, well, let me time this. Let me just see. Once I figured out exactly how to put my bills away, let me see how much time it takes. 20 minutes. I absolutely was flabbergasted. I thought, I have been ranting and raving in my mind for a chore that took me 20 minutes. Even if it took 30 minutes or 40 minutes, that's really not worth going into a tailspin. So I recognized, okay, that, you know, just don't do that. Don't allow that kind of experience to lower your vibrations, to pull you down into a tizzy that makes you feel, I hate this. I hate this job. I hate this job. I hate this job. Find a way to see the benefits. And if you're one of those worker bees that your bosses absolutely love you because they recognize that you do the work of two people, if not three, and they keep saddling you with more work and more work and more work. That translate that into stepping into a management position for yourself because of the fact that now you know exactly what it takes to get something done, and you will know what the effort entails and how much effort is needed and the type of person that's needed. Some people literally love to do secretarial work. I found that in certain cases, yes, I loved it because it gave me the satisfaction of just checking off something on my to-do list. But there were other facets of it that I absolutely abhorred. And filing was one of them. I, for whatever reason, couldn't stand to file. So I just let my files stack up, stack up, stack up, stack up to where, okay, they're going to topple. So I made them into two batches or three batches or four batches. And then one year I realized when I opened a file cabinet downstairs, I realized that I had four batches of things to file on top of the file cabinet, where when I opened the file cabinet, there was practically nothing filed. So I then said, all right, I'm going to take and the next 2 hours. And I said, I'll do as much as I can do in 2 hours. and then come back to it the next day, because I felt if I could get 2 hours in, I would be doing very, very well. But the truth of the matter was, yes. Did it take me the full 2 hours? Yes. Did it take me into another day? Yes. But the satisfaction that I had when I saw a stack of papers this deep of things that I had pulled out of the different um, things I had to file, and out of the different folders that I had to file, the duplicates, unsigned pages, um, insurance papers that I didn't need to keep. I only needed to keep the last one. Um, Unreal how much I was able to consolidate and get my folders in. And then I also recognized that I was keeping things upstairs in my file cabinet that I hadn't looked at since the last time I cleaned out the files. And I recalled a, once a statement that I had read. They said 95% of what you file is never looked at again. And as I looked at that, I was astonished because I realized that, my God, they're right. Most of this paperwork that I thought was so critical, so important to me, I just, I've never looked at it. So now I recognize that there are certain things I don't want to let go of. There are certain bits of information I want to keep, whether sometimes it's nothing more than sentimental value. But the important papers, the papers that are absolutely critical to the legal status of my life, like anything to do with birth certificates, anything to do with drivers, I'm sorry, the auto titles, anything to do with divorce decrees or marriage decrees, or what else did I have? Social Security. Um, Anything like that went into a folder called important papers. I had that from the beginning, and I was able to even weed through that because I realized, wow, again, I've had some papers in the important paper files that no longer relevant to my life. So could get rid of that. But anytime you are faced with a chore that you abhor, find a way to tackle it without spiraling down. The only other thing that I wanted to cover today. The last one of Archangel Ariel's hints. So she says, "Is it fun? Does it make your heart sing?" But number three was, does it serve your fellow man? Because Archangel Ariel understands that one of the three reasons that we come to this planet is to serve our fellow man. So if we are not serving our fellow man in some way, shape, or form, then effectively that could be the reason why we are feeling so down and so negative about this. My husband and I started a property management company in 1974. And at one point it was full listing and selling, but since 1995, it's been strictly a property management company. And it is amazing how much, how grateful the landlords are that we're still in business, because they've kept us for over 40 years. And for from my personal opinion, it even though I have so many other things to do, my husband does not. So he basically took over 95% of the work. He took over all the paperwork, all the computer work, and I just handle the inspections, moving in a new tenant, moving out a new tenant. And that's it. And he's very grateful for that because he feels he's not quite the people person that I am. And it frees me up from the drudgery of the paperwork that I didn't like to do. Some people love paperwork. Some people love computers. Some people love video games. Some people love building things on the computer. And whatever it is that draws your heart, if it serves your fellow man, if it's fun, if it makes your heart sing, and only you can decide what that is. You really kind of have to sift back into your own um, area of what drives you, where your life has taken you. And if you've stayed on the sidelines and done nothing but, I would like to, whatever that follows, be an interior designer, go on stage, whatever it is, own a carpentry shop, be an auto mechanic, be a plumber, whatever that is, go for it. Don't, even if you have just recently retired and are now faced with, well, what do I do? What do I do with the rest of my life? There are just so many things out there that can s- make you happy. Even if, let's say, you do nothing more than expand your spiritual self and expand out into what it is that you have um, felt that you were always kind of on the fringe of, that you were always kind of like standing back and watching somebody else do. The beauty is, whatever you want, you can find a YouTube video on it. So it doesn't matter what your idea is. If you Google it, if you just simply um, look for, put the question of what is this, you will find a YouTube video or you'll find um, an internet connection to it. And I just so absolutely want to encourage you to take this time of COVID where you actually do have maybe up to 3 hours a day that you used to spend commuting, and you do have that extra time to figure out, what can I do that makes my heart sing, that serves my fellow man, and just makes me so happy to be alive and to be in a place of fun. You're in a place of service, but you're still in a place of fun because you've never allowed yourself to do that. And if you're on your spiritual path, I so encourage you to buy a copy of Own Your Power Day by Day on my website, AliciaJones.com, ALICJA. Alicia is my birth name, and I was born in Poland, and it has an energy to it. Alicia. Ah is the sound of God. Every single name in my lexicon in some language will have an ah in it. There are 232 countries in the world, so there's 232 languages, if not more. And somewhere in some language, your name is going to have the ah sound in it. It's up to you to find it. I thank you for watching. I'll see you next week. I'm not even going to try to guess what it is that my guides are going to have me um, uh, talk about, because every time I try to guess, it it doesn't really feel like that's what's going to happen. So anyway, I bless you. I thank you for watching, and I am here next week Friday.